Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back on Radio Melee, and we have a very special guest, a Golden Guardians alumni,
Oh,
and you may know him as the big dog, the Dolphin Daddy. That's right, it's Zain.
you can't just throw out Dolphin Daddy, no
I could
context.
throw it out
man.
just like the way you threw out all those dolphin slashes. It tipped off,
Right. Okay, there's a context. There's the
which is
context
that you
was
did
needed.
a lot of dolphin smashes at tipped off,
Yeah. Hence
and
the
hence
Dolphin Daddy.
the Dolphin Daddy.
Right.
Right?
Thank you. Great intro, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I've
Yeah.
been working on it. I haven't been working on it. Tipped off. First question for you.
Okay.
We're a hard hitting show over here.
Right,
Fast
okay.
paced. I'm gonna turn my light on. Hang on. Okay, first question for you. Do you think that subconsciously your win at tipped off was carried somewhat by the fact that the tournament's called tipped off? It's kind of a Mar thing.
Yeah. Wait, PP, did you ever go Martha tipped off? I feel like
In PM, I did.
okay, that counts.
You win.
Yeah. Yes.
See? All right, tipped off. There's something to it.
There's something to it.
Yeah.
Every pound I went to was won by Jigglypuff player.
Interesting. Did you go to the
Saying.
pound that I went to last time? You weren't there, I guess.
Which one? Oh, the recent one where it was like, no,
Yeah.
I was I know I didn't go because I remember watching you versus Leffen in an airport, and the plane was going to take off, and I was like, oh my god, I want to see what happens. I want to see the end of the set, then the plane start taking off, and then I lost, and I was like, I lost reception or whatever. It was like game 3 or game 4 or something, and I was like, oh my god, and then
Yeah.
I had to sit there in the flight, not knowing what happened.
You had to wait the whole flight in suspense. I bet it was always a thing of that.
I think I got on plane Wi-Fi and I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't I couldn't see how it happened. I just only got to see the result and look at the bracket.
Yeah.
You won that, right, Pound?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Beating.
See, I wasn't there. Beating
Jigglypuff.
the Jigglypuff, who has a move called Pressed.
Hunger
That's right.
Box. Okay.
Okay. Wow. Hey, great. How you doing, PP?
Good. I'm
PP,
really
you
just
tipped off. You're a
marveling.
tipped off. You're tipped off.
Yeah, I'm a tipped off enthusiast. I've had a
Enthusiast?
couple tipped offs in my day, and in my first out of state regional was tipped off 4, so it means a lot to me. So it's cool to see it
Tipped off
coming
4.
back in 4. Yeah, they had a couple
Dang,
before
I
that.
thought you were pretty old school. Yeah, who won like tipped off 1?
Probably like HBox.
I don't even know if HBox
Dude, it
was
might have been
going to
before
them.
his
It might
time.
have been smaller. It might have been smaller than HBox. I don't know if HBox would have went or
Yeah.
not. I'm not sure.
Shit.
But
I want to go to one. I've never been to one.
They're pretty neat. I listened to other podcasts in Melee Shout. I listened to the Bottom of Smash Mountain podcast with
I've been on that one.
with the TO of that event. And he's a pretty cool guy. I really like his
Gohan?
story. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really
Mhm.
cool. Honestly, the whole event was very well run, and it had this kind of grassroots homey feel to it that you don't really get at majors these days. But also, like, it was just from a TOing standpoint, really good. Like, he had food catered for us and stuff.
Oh,
It was sick, and then the crowd was like very much so like a grassroots type of crowd. It was pretty sick. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I liked. I gotta say, as a commentator, I really liked having Dogi Sandwich back commentating. I thought it was pretty cool to hear.
I
him.
love Dogi.
Yeah, he's not really like a melee guy anymore. He's more of an FGC guy, right? That's kind of his vibe.
I think I'm not too sure.
I mean, he said on Twitter, he's like, I'm casting melee for the first time in like 10 years or something. I was like, oh my god.
He commentated like
gotta catch
MLG,
this.
right? Or is this? Am I thinking?
Oh yeah. Well, maybe
No,
not
I don't think he
MLG,
did
but
MLG.
Apex.
Apex.
You know, like
that's right.
Apex
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Apex, some East Coast stuff like that. Maybe like some ROMs, maybe some revival of melees. Maybe I might be making that up. I don't know. Definitely tipped off.
Sure. Yeah, I know he did some tipped off. I think that would have been his main thing.
Main thing.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of good,
Speaking of good, we got Zain. Wow. Yeah. And speaking of Zain, he joined, he's no longer with Golden Guardians. He's with Moist Moguls. And I actually and I think that's a pretty exciting, pretty great organization. So, And I just wasn't a decision to leave you made lightly because I think, you create a lot of wonderful things here at Golden Guardian. So I'm actually really curious about what caused you to make the jump and what you kind of feel like if it's part of a larger change. Like, are you a little more content focused now? Like what does this have any greater significance for Zain the person?
Yeah, I think the main impetus behind it was very much so content based. So having like the direct guidance of Charlie and Lud to help with content, oversee it and even in a way promote it, I think is so invaluable to what I want to do. And like that, you can just see that from the first video I made with Lud. Like his video got 3.5 million views, and then I put out like a behind the scenes type of video on my channel for that, and it got like 300-ish K views.
Can we show off, Quinn? Can we show off Zane's new YouTube channel on the broadcast here?
Well, there is a problem with it right now because I created a new YouTube channel to avoid getting demonetized because that happened to my old one for invalid traffic. Which, by the way, I don't even know how to how to bot my own like channel, or I don't even know how to go about that. But that's another thing. And so we made a new channel completely from scratch. That got demonetized after 3 days of being partnered.
What?
Yeah.
So they figured out it was you or something.
I think it's like personalized, the ban. So I've been trying to reach out to like people at YouTube, but the thing is, AdSense is with Google, since YouTube and Google owns YouTube, right? So AdSense, I feel like there are a very minimal amount of connections that can help out, even if the YouTube people, like I'm talking to them, I don't know how much they can get done, but it sucks because I have a lot of like big ideas that I want to do on YouTube that I think would be great content wise.
Wow. Hopefully, hopefully we can get to the bottom of that. That's a real bummer. I know YouTube moves slow with this sort of thing sometimes. They got a lot of strange. There's a whole thing with like Majin Obama's YouTube channel just got completely deleted, and took a while. Took some time to revert. That did get reversed, fortunately, but they admitted they were wrong. But
it's just scary when if it's your whole career. Like
it's terrible.
What?
Terrible.
It is frightening, but
got to find a way to. I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it somehow. But really excited to see more of that stuff. Are you it's kind of like I felt like for a while it was I don't know, it seems like this was the first tournament where it felt like really kind of for a while it was like you would be MXM Zain on the thing, and then Moki would still be Moist Moki. So I wasn't sure if there was like two different things going on, but now it seems like it's kind of unified.
I think it's unified, this one. I think there's been more structure added as I've been on. So I do like MXM. I think it looks cool.
MXM does sound really cool, I gotta say. Yeah. It's kind of like Hunter x Hunter. You don't say the X.
HX. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So true.
So true.
But yeah, I got to, after tipped off, I visited the Moist compound in Tampa. Like I got to meet Charlie and some of the other crew there, and they're all really cool. Charlie's super down to earth and like really into Smash, and we got to talk about like bad movies and stuff. We both like watching bad movies.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I'm just excited. I think it is a good fit for me, as much as I miss being on GG. I'm excited about like my future with the game and content alike. Although because my YouTube channel got demonetized, I just went back to grinding more Melee. And I've been enjoying it. So not gonna complain too much.
Yeah, and I would say, at least I won't speak for everyone, but I would say, I do miss having you around as much. It was really fun to have you and everything else. But at the end of the day, like I said in the farewell video, I'm just glad you're doing what you want to do. Moving on and doing what feels right. And actually, to touch on what you were just saying, it almost seems like you're trying, I think this is very timely with the tweet Cody put out today. For those that don't know, Cody actually tweeted saying he was thinking about his future as well, the financial stability of Melee. And he said if he can't find like a sponsor or some other way to make Melee more financially viable by Genesis, he's going to retire. And so I think there are other players that might be thinking about their future more now, especially with, the stuff that happened with the circuits and other esports teams and everything like that that's been going on the past half year or so. And yeah, so I'm
Cody,
really curious.
And I mean, Cody got like explicitly wrapped up into two of the biggest explosions that had, right? Like he was on Panda and then he was on CLG.
Right.
So
the back-to-back.
And CLG wasn't even Panda, you could argue was very Smash centric and how that all went down. With CLG, it almost felt like collateral damage, because that was it was the whole organization.
CLG was objectively a good move for him too, because you think, they've been like so vested in Smash. They're like one of the premier esports teams. Like, what could go wrong with that? And it's just really unfortunate that I can't believe that luck. That's insane.
Yeah, and we might have people calling in to talk about it, so we may get into that more. But I'm very curious about your perspective on this too, Zain, because I think there are various people that might have their priorities shifting around right now too. And so you were sounding like you were trying to do more towards content. Do you think that's more sustainable long term for you? Is that something that you're just starting to think about enjoying more? Like what does that mean to you? What's the goal here? What's the end goal here?
I do. So I want to merge Melee and content together in a way that hasn't been done before. And I feel like there's no reason that Melee as a game shouldn't have a huge following content-wise. And there's never been a top player, I think, to fully leverage that and be an access point for people coming into Melee. So if you look at the documentary, that was an access point that drove me in. It drove a bunch of people in, but it was temporary, right? It's not going to be that long-standing forever because, I love the doc, but like things get outdated. It's like, I think it still holds up, but it's not always going to be the like access point. So I think it's important for top players to kind of take that role and make content that is more conducive to people getting into Melee. And the way that I want to go about it is like, for me, using Melee as an accessory to a larger plot. So a lot of people are familiar with Melee from like a nostalgic point of view. That's how they see it. But if you take like, if you use it, and it like I don't think I'm super good at getting into like the nitty gritty gameplay stuff with content, but like things for me like the sketches or like doing larger scale ideas that I don't really necessarily want to spoil right now. I think there is a way to make it hit more mainstream, and also because of that byproduct, bring more people into it by just like seeing in the videos like local scenes, like, oh, this is what it looks like. Maybe I should check out my local scene. Things like that to kind of trickle people in.
So it's interesting. It almost sounds like, you're thinking about this almost less of, I mean, it sounds like you might be thinking about this more in terms of like stability for you, maybe, but it almost sounds like you're doing this just because this you just really want to help Melee. Is what it sounds like. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's definitely, I mean, it goes both ways because I've been in Melee so long and it's helped me, and I think by continuing to help Melee, it goes both ways.
Right, sure.
And I also want everyone else to benefit from some like the more that everyone does good work within Melee, the better it is for everybody, I think. The more exposure that we get. So
because it's like it's a
symbiotic.
Yeah. Symbiote.
Yeah.
Rising tide rises all the ships up. Something like that. Just something about rising tide. Yeah, I think that there's like I don't know, there's like a certain itch that I think speedrunning has like something solved, I don't know, even like Trackmania is that am I thinking of like like virtual with Trackmania? I feel like there's these games that I think virtual is a great example of this, where it's like, even people that don't play the game, like I guarantee you there's a like a ton of those virtual viewers that watch every single video. Or like with something so like, maybe I've played some of these games as a kid or something, but I definitely haven't played like at least half of them, right? But I think when there's enough kind of mind share that the greater sort of mainstream YouTube whatever audience has like Melee is a good example of that. I think everyone kind of like, you know, if you sit like people on the street, like not literally people on the street, but like, you know, anyone who kind of has been into gaming for long enough, like they kind of know what like a wave dash is. It's like, oh yeah, wave dashing. That's what Melee is, wave dashing. You know, it's like there's a lot of like kind of you know, Melee isms that have really seeped into the mainstream, and I feel like nobody's really ever leveraged those. I mean, Wombo Combo is a great example of that.
Definitely. I think another big problem is that there's this idea that, especially from Ultimate players, I think that Melee has a sense of elitism behind it in terms of entering the scene, and I think breaking that is super
important. I agree.
Important.
Very important
to break that
because it's such an easy idea. Like you just play Melee, and you're like, why would I play anything else? It's just like that kind of attitude. It's like people are gonna be so standoffish towards like joining the communities and stuff, and I mean, I do feel that way, but I'm not gonna say it like.
I mean, you know, we can just it's just a matter of flipping it around to say I love this so much that playing other things just doesn't do the same thing for me, rather than saying I love this so much, therefore everything else is bad.
It's irrelevant or bad. Yeah, I think that is the key there. So that's also a big part of it. There's like, I feel like there's so much like terminology in Melee too that like people kind of, it's daunting for them. It's like every technique is like, I have to learn this to even play the game, which isn't even necessarily true. I think I went a long time just playing the game without, I mean, my L cancel rate was really bad for like the first like few weeks of playing, I feel like. So yeah, breaking that is super important, I think.
And I think we already have like proof that it can work. I mean, we have Awesome Sauce, right? Like there's someone that's already doing it.
Awesome Sauce.
And you know, I mean, there are people in spheres that are outside of Melee, well outside of Melee, and I'll just be watching them, and sometimes they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Awesome Sauce is my comfort YouTuber or whatever." And I'm just like, "What?"
YouTuber.
Yeah, it's strange to me that, but there's Melee can have that reach and that appeal to a lot of people. So it's already proven to be possible. It's just finding that other angle.
It'd be really interesting if Top Player could do it. You know,
I mean, I think Awesome Sauce, to his credit, he's not even a top player, right? He didn't have a platform to kind of lift him into success. Like he just did it all from the merit of his own content, the way he scripted his videos, the editing. Like they're all very enjoyable watches. Meanwhile, like top players are very much like people want to hear from us. We've already like got that credence. So I think there's an easier transition there to becoming like a big content creator that we haven't seen before, really. I think Hungrybox is the closest, but it rides off the momentum of his stream highlights, which, to be fair, are good.
People for sure have done it in other esports. People for sure have done it. Yeah. Even in fighting games, I would say that, you know, like I think Daigo really did it in Street Fighter. Like, you know, he did a lot of really innovative events and like, you know, videos and exhibition matches, and he did a lot. Like, I feel like he's the kind of, when I think of the FGC, at least, I think he's the best example of somebody who, and he's like, you know, he's like a household name in Japan now. He's kind of really elevated beyond. Yeah. And he still competes. I mean, he still enters tournaments, and, you know, he's trying to be one of the best Street Fighter 6 players, but he's like really, I mean, he was doing all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, still does. Like, he was doing, like, he would do collabs with fighting gamers from other scenes. And I remember he did like, he'd get a bunch of fighting gamers and do like karaoke events and stuff like that were streamed, and he'd make all these crazy YouTube videos. Yeah, I don't know. I do sort of think that in some ways, like in Melee and or not even in Melee, like really in Smash, I feel like we're really kind of, in some ways, we're kind of constrained by this, like, you know, streaming first kind of mentality. Like everyone's on Twitch, like first and foremost, and, you know, like YouTube's kind of always been an afterthought.
Yeah. I think it's because
in a way
someone like Mango set the precedent for that.
Yeah,
and he's also very much so talented at streaming, and like it fits the way he wants to do content, right? Because he can just be himself and like go on his little interesting conversational rants, and everyone, he's like the news hub of Melee in a way, because he just talks about like stories from streams or from tournaments, and his personality is very fit for streaming. But I do think a lot of people could see success on YouTube. It's just not the paved way.
You have to innovate it. Yeah, someone's got to innovate it. Like,
Yeah.
no, Mango innovated streaming.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to do it for long form content, for evergreen stuff?
And I'd really like to kind of ask a question that I think is really relevant to this, and actually relevant to something you said earlier, Zane. You were saying that, oh yeah, because my YouTube stuff isn't working, I'm gonna focus on grinding a whole lot more. And I think that is the exact thing that top players don't want to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much rankings culture, there's so much talk about who's good and whatever. And if you take time to do content, and Melee being the demanding game it is, it's going to be harder to perform well, or at least also have a life outside of that and everything else. So, I'm really curious about your thoughts on how you can convince Melee players to do that, how they can still be successful while balancing that, especially if you being incredibly successful as a player are thinking, well, I'm going to maybe let my results take a bit of a hit to do this content stuff. How easy of a sell is that going to be to other people?
I mean, I think at a certain point, like you got to realize the climate of esports, right? Like it might just be a necessary step if you want to continue following this path. Especially because Melee, we don't have that support, unfortunately. So I feel like it's not really. It doesn't even feel like a choice in a way, but I think you can find a good tailored fit in content that you can enjoy. That's like the pitch, I think, is like there's something that everyone who's good at the game, they all have a role, I think, that they can find. And it might not be streaming, but it's important to go search after it. Yeah.
It's very interesting. It'd be cool to eventually, maybe get our own little Smash Moist Moguls division where we can have these top players get coached in that, because I think a lot of people might want to do it, but they're like, well, I do this and I don't get any return for it, and it's confusing, and I could just play the game.
I think like Cody in particular, like I'll be watching him stream and he'll very much talk about how he's trying to improve his stream while he's streaming, and I'm like, whoa. But I don't know. I think like it's clear that he wants to make, like he's a very motivated person, and he's someone who and he will make it work. So I have full confidence in him to like find a style of content that he can be good at. I think Moki has told me that he's like watched stand-up specials to like work on his delivery.
Wow.
And you can see it in his stream and the way he interacts with chat in kind of like a self-deprecating way, where it's like, chat, you don't mean that, or like that kind of stuff. I think it's all funny. It's really funny how everyone works on that in their own different ways.
They do.
I think Moki's an excellent streamer. Like that is where he thrives. It's just I think there are different avenues for people, and I think teaching the game is one of them. It's just not something that I feel like I'm super good at. Like I was looking at those Medify videos that Armada and Left and Made. I was like, man, I don't know how much I could do that. Like because to make something that I believe is quality, and the amount of effort that I'd feel like I'd exert doing that and wouldn't enjoy doing that, I'm like, that's I don't know about that.
You would hold yourself. It's gameplay related, so you would intrinsically, I think, hold yourself to a pretty high standard.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to put out bullshit.
This is this is coming from like the best player, one of the best players. So it's like, I think who I think does a really good job with that kind of content actually, and I've always thought that is PPU.
I do like PPU University.
Yeah, I do. I think he's got some good stuff on there. It's pretty advanced, actually, the stuff he talks about.
Yeah,
he's got some pretty high level stuff on there. Talking about Marth sweet spots and things like that. I think there's like a way to do that. But I think if you did it, you would hold yourself to a certain standard, and if you don't enjoy doing it, it'd be very difficult to.
It takes so long because of that too. Like the amount of times that I would like erase something and be like, that's not right.
Oh, it's
yeah.
I can tell you too, having tried to do it in the past, the way that I think the thing that's really tough about educational content is that you get into it and you start writing a script or whatever it is, and you quickly realize like, oh, I need to make this accessible for like all levels of skill, or at least you don't have to, but you kind of immediately you write something and you're like, oh, someone's not going to get that. And then you're like, okay, so should I explain? Do I need to explain the thing that they need to know to get that? And really quickly, you end up with a lot of those sorts of decisions, and it's really tiring. It's really mentally taxing. It's like, oh damn, like yeah, it's like da. They can SDI out, and you're like, do I need to explain SDI? And then how much do I explain it?
Right.
And it's so you really need like a very actually pretty crystal clear, especially I think with a game like Melee, you need a pretty like clear picture of like exactly what level you're even catering to in the first place. Otherwise, it ends up being all over the place. I've seen, bless their hearts, don't get me wrong, I've seen top Melee players try to do educational content before, and I'll watch it, and sometimes it feels like it's all over the place, and I can tell that they ran into this exact problem, and they couldn't solve it because they spent too little time on certain things and too much time on other things.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I was doing lessons a while back. I only did it for a little bit. I would like there'd be a phase where I'm gauging how good the person is, and then I tailor the lesson towards like their skill. And for like beginners, I would have like the same thing rehearsed in my head that I would say that they should work on, but it just didn't feel super polished when I was doing it. So that wasn't super worth it to me.
Everyone has their role, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think there could be like really cool new. I mean, Medify is like the hub right now. I feel like for that stuff. But I'd be curious to see where like educational Melee goes in the future too.
Yeah. I gotta say, I didn't like watch. I didn't watch those videos in full, the Left and Armada ones, but I did watch the trailers for them. They looked really high quality. It seems like they did a really, really good job.
Yeah,
they looked really clean.
Yeah.
Dude, did I tell you I thought it was hard? It was really hard when Armada said, what did he say? He said he's like the closer you get to one opening, one stock, the better. And I was like,
that's cold.
That's cold. Yeah. Like the way he said it, I was like, damn, you're right.
That's just his motto for the game.
That's his motto for the game.
Yeah.
That's very peach view view of things.
Yeah. But he took that view to Fox. He was like, started playing Fox, and he was like, dude, all these Fox players, their punish game is not good enough. Show them how it's done. It was good. It's good Fox. Yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of ways to. I don't know. I wish you a lot of good luck and success. Really, well, especially with the YouTube thing too. I hope that just kind of pans out. I want to see more of your crazy ideas.
I want to just post stuff right now. I think I've told you some of my ideas, Toph.
I think you have, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I watch a lot of Nathan For You. If anyone, I don't know.
Yeah.
That, but I got so many ideas from watching that show. That like, I think there could be some cool stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. And we're going to be getting into these callers in just a second. If you guys have
callers.
You guys have something else you want to ask?
Damn! I haven't even been looking at the question chat. We got so many questions in here. Holy shit!
So many questions.
Oh my god!
Radio Melee, my chat,
we gotta get the show on the road.
Yeah, and come through Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Get in the Discord, react with GG React in the rules channel, and the Melee React in the assigned rules channel. All right. Nice. Yay. We have done our call to action very late. Yay. Okay, now community voice from last time. Zane, make sure you're thinking about yours for the end of the show.
Shoot. Okay.
You got time. Yeah. I don't remember what ours was. What was our community voice?
I remember. It was Kevin. We had Kevin Toy on, and Kevin Toy asked.
It was Eric.
Oh, it was Eric's. What was Kevin's? Oh, Kevin was the D&D one. That was a good one. Eric asked, what's your what did you get out of Melee besides?
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it couldn't be something like. Well, I guess it could be anything, but I think it was supposed to
leaning towards the human aspect. Yeah,
the human aspect, the human element. Dragonstar 9125, badass username. Got to tell you, Dragonstar 9125 says, "I've been playing Super Smash Bros. Melee container game for 2 years now. As well, networking 10 tournaments, spending a lot of time labbing a variety of characters I didn't stick with anyway. Melee is one thing I'm grateful for. Through this funny little diskette that's older than me,
diskette.
That's older by about half a decade. Half a decade? You can play for 2 years? Oh, older than you, but I have a deck. I see. I've learned to become more social with other people, to disregard the differences in people. Doesn't matter the color of your skin or who you red fast. We're all to play Melee. And most importantly, told me that how other people perceive me doesn't matter as long as I think I'm cool. Trans Pride anyone? Armada Goat. Trans people in Smash Bros are awesome. Attend more tournaments. For the love of God, please stop saying Melee is better or Ultimate sucks. Both games are sick as hell.
Relevant.
Nice.
Ooh, I like this next one.
Armada Goat. I gotta say, if you've only been playing Melee for 2 years, but you think Armada's the goat, that's kind of like a vintage opinion. I'm kind of into that. That's like a vintage. You had to do your homework to get to that opinion. Anyway, Muck Manor 77. You can read this one, PP.
Yeah, I like this one. Melee gave me the cherished memory of staying up until 3 a.m. with my roommates and losing our minds as we watched PPMD win Apex 2015. Wow, also a vintage opinion, but you know what? Hey, not bad. I'm here for it. Really, really good. I mean, sometimes, I am kind of memeing around, but I also think that this game will just deliver really fun experiences that are hard to get in a lot of other places, whether that be through your playing or through spectating or whatever else, like in the first comment. So I do really like that, and I really am glad for this question. With DSC 5957 rolling up with our last answer here. They say, especially in the late pandemic era, my best friend and I would order pizza and watch majors together, and it meant a lot to me at that time to be able to connect over Melee and get hype. I would also listen to episodes of Radio Melee, that's us, on the commute to work, and I'll never forget how much all of that helped.
Wow. That is us.
That is us. Look at us go.
Look at us go. That's crazy.
You're part of the void.
Part of the void?
Voyage, not the void.
Oh.
We are part of the void. You both are part of the void. I wasn't expecting to go there, but yeah, we are part of the void. The void, dude. The great eternity that we all ascended from and will one day return to.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
When you get down to it.
I guess so.
The inevitable hit of the universe.
God. Been a little while since you've been around the GG crew I see these days. Some things have not changed.
We were talking about that. I was hanging out with Loud Dennis this weekend. We were talking about the Call of the Void.
That sounds like a person who would talk about the Call of the Void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about when you're just driving down the street and then you're like, damn, what if I just drive into a wall? You don't do it, but you have that thought. It's like, I could just end it. You know what I'm saying?
Saying, do you have that thought?
Do you have a driver's license?
No, I don't drive.
Hey, well, when you get a driver's license, you'll know what I'm talking about.
But sometimes when I'm walking, I'm like, I can walk really fast.
Walk into the wall.
I can walk really fast.
Yeah. Let's get the first caller on. It is gonna be hello? Question mark.
Hey,
how's it going? Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today?
I am calling in from Toronto, Canada.
Very nice.
And my question is, okay, so since Melee has been around for a long time, culture's changed and grown, but we also hold on to traditions. Like, I was there for PPU's color ownership talk, and I hear a lot of old heads talk about missing things like combo videos and like other aspects of older eras of Melee. So here's my question. Do you think traditionalism harms Melee culture by preventing progress? Or is the community mature enough to only hold on to the good stuff? Are there any traditions that we should get rid of entirely?
Ooh, good question.
I think there's always got to be a balance, right? Like, because if the culture were always changing, it would be kind of hard for people to get into it, because as soon as you learn something, it's already changed, or you don't really know what's going on. So there's always some sort of balance, and I guess that's going to kind of change as the community change. And I also think there are times where the community changes faster. So when I'm thinking back to the Brawl days, I don't think things changed that much. And then I think, 2014, 2015-ish, things changed a lot and things were going really fast. And I think, there was value in both times. I think everyone's going to have their opinions about Melee cultural stuff that's got to change. You could ask anyone and you're going to get a lot of different answers. So I won't go there, but I think there's always a sort of balance based on the times, and I don't think there's really wrong with having things we like and wanting things to be different. I think it's all important.
Traditions we should get rid of. We have traditions. I think that I think we've had traditionalism. This has definitely happened in the past, right? Like things like there's certain things that took a lot of momentum to originally get started, right? Like I think even stuff like, I don't know, UCF back in the day, you know, any form of controller like back in the day, I mean the community was very staunch against those sorts of things, you know? Like we're talking about, I think I had a YouTube video I was talking about, like, you know, who's the best player that could go back and like win Genesis 1? And someone was like, could Zuppy win Genesis 1? I was like, bro, if Zuppy time traveled Genesis 1, like they wouldn't let him play.
Yeah.
They'd be like, bro, what the fuck is that? Like, no, you're
They would think
bro.
that they would think that he's a time traveler.
They would think he was a time. I know. That's what. So, you know, I mean, we've kind of moved past some of that stuff, right? Like when it comes to like what controllers you can use and stuff. Now I would say we're at a part where traditionalism. Speaking of the controllers thing, I would say we're kind of. It's kind of in the other direction now, where I feel like there's kind of been this vague sense among like the top players for the last couple of years. It's like, oh, we should probably have a more clarified rule set around, you know, what should be legal and what shouldn't with regards to controllers. But like we've kind of, you know, I feel like the tradition now is, you know, whatever you bring to the tournament, you can kind of use like de facto. No one's ever like in practice. I don't think anyone's really ever gotten DQ'd from a controller thing. You know, you kind of just let it rock. So if anything, I would say on that front, maybe we've gone a little bit in the other direction. I still feel like, you know, someone should formally put out some kind of rule set, but you know, I like when tradition is broken in little fun ways, like off season. I think off season is a good example of this. You know, like that was you know, they took some risks. They're like, what if we run it like straight up just run a tournament and you can pick Mute City?
I like that.
Yeah, it was fine. Now I always bring this up. Was it partially fine because I think the character that's by far the most broken on Mute City is Jigglypuff, and HBox was not there? Maybe that helped. Maybe it wouldn't have been as fine if HBox was there. But you know, whatever, it's fine. I'm not going to question it.
It's interesting that you bring up Puff, because I think actually characters like Puff especially is like one of the things that I'm kind of curious about with this question. Like traditionally Melee is kind of defined by this culture of like we play it because it's the most creative, most expressive fighting game, where it's like I can like do all these things that I can't do in these other games. And one of those things that we've kind of tried to erase from the culture is things like camping, right? Even though in like if we were being true to the competitive spirit of something, like camping is a viable strategy to win, right? And recently I saw this video that TK Breezy made about a Steve player, you know, receiving so many death threats and so much bullying on Twitter and things like that he's quitting. Wow. And I wonder if maybe traditionalism about, you know, Melee is sick, is one of those things that maybe harms us from like maybe revisiting the way we look at something like camping or wobbling and saying, you know what, maybe actually those things aren't degenerate. We just bullied everyone who did something we thought was lame.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to touch on too, was like character diversity in particular. Because when you come into Melee, or at least when I came in around 2014, 15, the main kind of sentiment that permeates is that Spacies are sick. Everyone else is kind of like, like it kind of like falls down until you get to Puff and like IPs. I think Marth was kind of popping at the time because PP just won Apex. So like, but then it definitely like kind of flipped over after like the Leffen 60-40 stuff. And then the problem is that when those sentiments come from the top players, it all trickles down to your regional scene, to your local scene, to your college, where everyone is just saying, oh, you play Marth, that's so lame. Oh, you play Puff, you can't play on the ledge, that's so lame. And I do think it falls a lot on the top players and community figureheads like commentators to kind of find the right balance, not to like discourage people from playing certain characters or playing in certain ways. But yeah, I think we could do a better job of that, because that idea that like, you know, Spacies are the sickest and they need to be around, like we need Spacies for Melee to exist. There's got to be a right balance with that. I don't know if that's what you were touching on, but that's kind of what I was thinking.
I think Sheik is cool.
Based.
I like a Sheik.
Thank you,
Teak.
dude. I almost took that game. That third game,
You had that crazy nair off stage.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. You had a lot of crazy nairs.
Thanks.
I think
man.
Martha's cool.
Hey. Who else we got?
I mean,
While-
we just
while
had
we're at
Roy,
it.
right?
Yeah, but everyone thinks Roy's cool. Come on, no one's like, oh, Roy's lame.
Roy's not cool. Let me be the first to tell you that Roy's not
That
cool.
is really
Yeah,
funny.
but you seeing Roy's not cool is very different from when people say Puff's not cool. They're talking about it's two different types of not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, Roy is just a chore to watch, man. I
to
up through
watch
curb,
or to play.
I up through curb at 230%.
That was funny.
I guess it depends on
That
the way
was
you look
funny.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I think
I mean,
other
I
people
like
were funny.
watching you try to win neutral over and over. Very satisfying. In a world where everyone is trying to zero to death as hard as possible. There's
I'm
your
trying to win
Roy.
neutral.
I,
Yeah.
I kind of like that in a way.
Yeah. That's why I like playing it too.
No, watching Roy is fine.
I mean, it is kind of painful when I have to watch him. Like you put them on you up there them on a platform, and then you do
Yeah.
like double jump nair, and then
Right.
you like
Doesn't
run
do
away because it doesn't do anything. I watched that a few times. I was like, okay, that is painful, but
Yeah.
That's also just funny though. Like
It is a
either
little
Zain, it's literally what for me it's win-win because either Zain, sorry, don't test me. Either don't test me like beats a
Thank you.
top 50 Spacey and it's funny, or you have to fight some Samus, and then it's also funny, but for the other reason. So it's
Right.
literally for me, it's literally win-win. Like there's no losing here. It's always funny. So
I think what we've learned is that Don't Test Me is awesome.
that's what we learned.
yeah,
I hope-
we got a lot out of this question. I think.
I think
I
we
hope
did
we've,
actually, though.
Hope we've gotten to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a good discussion, but and I think it's one we can continue having in various forms here. But we do have a few callers, so we're gonna keep things moving. Thank you so much for calling in. Do you have any shout outs for us on your way out today, gamer?
Yeah, actually, first of all, I wanted to shout out Fizzy again because it's $5. So many hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cheapest. Like, it's cheaper than going out for lunch. So
Mm-hmm.
let's keep supporting it. And also, shout out Cornflake for making one of my favorite Falco combo videos ever.
Nice.
And
Love
to all the other combo video makers out there, we're still watching. Keep making them.
Heck yeah. All right, you have a
Alright,
good rest
thanks,
of your day,
guys.
gamer.
Later.
See ya. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our next caller. We have Yedo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but hello, welcome to the program. Where are you calling in from, and what's your question for us today, gamer?
Hello, you sure are pronouncing it right. Thank you so much for not saying Yido.
That was the 50-50.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, so first of all, Zain, I wanted to say fellow doc kid, so shout outs to that. And I heard you saying you like Nathan For You. If you haven't already watched the rehearsal, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's
It's so
also
good.
equally amazing.
I love it. And then Toph, really appreciate when we were able to actually play in the Twitch office. Thanks for letting me come up and play with you in like 2015. We played some friendlies. And,
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, I landed a Falcon Punch on you, and then you destroyed me after that.
Nice.
But I just tell my friends the first part. No, I'm just
Just
kidding.
tell them the first part.
And then
That's the only part that
yeah.
matters.
yeah, exactly. My only excuse is I didn't have my own controller. But anyway,
Mm.
um,
Oh yeah,
And-
those office controllers are pretty bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then PP, have shout out for you afterwards. So
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, my question is, with all the stuff we've been talking about trying to get Melee to be more popular, which is something I've wanted for so long, since like 2014 when I got in. I thought the documentary was so cool. But with that in mind, do you think there's a world where Melee gets so popular that maybe we lose a bit of that grassroots or like exclusivity feeling that many of the community treasure? I'm wondering if the appeal of Melee's community having this like family or homey vibe could potentially be like negatively impacted by the growth of the community. So while enabling more Melee players and personalities to be able to make a living by playing and talking about this amazing game, do you think there's a way to also simultaneously maintain that grassroots vibe?
I think we talked about this a few times. I think the answer is yes, but it'll probably change. And I also think it's going to depend on how we grow. I think, an interesting criticism I heard of the esports industry when everything was happening and a lot of orgs were shutting down like a few months ago was a lot of big events there wasn't the emotion that was there anymore. It all felt very sterile. It felt very produced, and the storylines weren't really there for a lot of people, and not us necessarily, but for the larger tier one and esports. And so I think it's going to depend on how we grow. Are we beholden to? Do commentators start having to be beholden to certain rules by sponsors? Or is everyone going to be much more careful about talking about a certain something or joking in a certain way because we might lose some other sponsors? And I think the more that if we have touchy sponsors like that, I think we get into that territory more. But if we're able to do what we did with the Papa John sponsorship, and we're able to collectively use our events, and we're able to, get money that way, and there are people that are trying to, try and do things like that still, then, we're going to be able to be ourselves. But I think there will still be some change that's going to have to come with growth, because there'll be more eyes on us, and we'll probably we might, be a little less rugged in some ways, for better and worse. And I think that's okay. But how much of that is going to depend on how we grow, which, I think is part of why, I really like what Zane's trying to do with Moist Moguls, because I think that's a way that lets us keep our integrity and get a lot more people in and not lose our spirit, right?
Spirit.
I think also like keeping the local level alive is so important for maintaining the grassroots feel that you're talking about. Because when I was getting into Melee, I think it was reaching its like esports high, right? Like we were having so many high production events and stuff like that, and those were awesome to watch at that time. But also, I would go to Smash Fest. I would watch them at Smash Fest with all my friends, or, like even put them on at local tournaments. Like I think having that right blend and balance, like BP was talking about, that's what you want to find. I will say, like, going to Tipped Off made me realize that I hadn't been to that kind of tournament in a while, just because the majors and super majors that we had did not have that grassroots feeling. But because of where we are right now, that is a major, and we had like I went there and I was forced to do like the grassroots thing, and it was awesome. But I think keeping it at a local level is also like the key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
don't you kind of feel like, we've kind of had this a couple of times in the community. Don't you kind of feel like even if we lose some of that grassroots feel at the biggest scale with the super majors and stuff, like there's always going to be locals or regionals, or like even if even if like Genesis and Big House exist and there are these huge tournaments that kind of like whatever have like a different kind of atmosphere than we're used to, like in a lot of places you can just go to your weekly or go to your monthly. And I think, like, I don't know, I just saw Fiction made a tweet that was like, it's always funny when people come to Verdugo and have a great time, and then they're like, wow, you guys have this good of a time like every week. Like there's a lot of people that go to their locals and like don't really interact with the community at like a larger scale, and that's like totally fine. And that's kind of what they're looking for. And there's like, and no one said you have to stop doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the only challenge with that, just to play, just to consider everything from a couple different angles.
You can say devil's advocate. You wanted to say devil's advocate.
I didn't. Okay, but it sounds much worse if I say it that way. And
say devil's advocate. You wanted to say it.
Okay, to play devil's advocate here, just because, just to consider it fully. Let's suppose that we get a lot of big events, and they're going on, and they're not only going on weekends, but they might even be going on certain weekdays. And we might run into the coin box problem, where some of these big events, whether they're online
Yeah.
or there's so many others that are closer to you, you might opt for some of those big ones over smaller ones where you can make more friends or have a tighter knit community or something like that. So at a certain point, maybe that becomes an issue. But maybe there's a way to balance that. And maybe you could like integrate locals with larger things too, so it might be a win for everyone. I don't know, but just to consider that fully, that is a possibility.
It's a possibility, but isn't that a good problem to have? You know,
Maybe people feel like it's harder to make friends then, and it maybe feel like a higher barrier to entry. I don't know, for some anyway.
Yeah, I guess like something for me that I'm worried about, or like I just picture, like let's just say hypothetically everything works perfectly, moving forward, and Melee just explodes in popularity more than it ever has, and then because of much more people being involved, the community maybe it becomes more toxic because maybe less people are. It's like there's a little bit less nuance, I guess, with people's opinions of things because so many people, like I don't know how to explain it, but I guess like I'm just thinking like Fortnite or something else, like some super popular esports game, and people have pretty like polarized opinions about it or whatever. So I don't know.
Oh, I'm
I
sure
feel
that
like-
that would happen. Yeah, I don't think that's really avoidable though. That's
Yeah.
just part of it. And the better we do with content, the better that'll be managed, I would think.
Yeah, so I think it's just more like of making sure that as the community grows, like that there's a lot more nuance communicated from anyone that's like a figurehead or like a popular like person in the community. I don't know.
Sure, but I think also you're just going to have people that are going to be so far removed from things because they're just going to be very, very casual. Like maybe they only watch events, or maybe they only watch one person or whatever, which isn't so different from now. But there could be more degrees of separation. Like maybe someone only makes controversial content or whatever, and maybe people only watch that or whatever. And so like it's not that's something that is just going to kind of happen. And we
Yeah.
can do our best about it, but the bigger we get, we can't micromanage everyone's opinion now.
Yeah.
Toph and I were talking about Reddit last week, and there were some highly upvoted YouTube comments that were like, "No, Reddit is much better than you think." So we're already there. I mean, we're not, So I think whatever issue you think there already is, I mean, it's already, I mean, technically here. So I think we're doing the best we can, and we're just going to have to try and navigate that more if it becomes a larger issue later.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just probably an inevitability of things getting more popular,
Yeah, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's like when your favorite band blows up. It's like I remember when I would go to Ludwig streams when he had like 500, 600 views. I miss the old Ludwig.
Yeah, that's actually my thought.
I'm happy
is like,
for him. I'm happy for him. But
yeah,
he used to name his Pokemon after me.
that's my thought. Is
Pokemon
like,
after me in so long.
I've thought about that.
Come on
Like,
the show.
do I want like I've actually been thinking like, do I actually want Melee to become this popular, or is that something that I like about it, that like this is this thing that I really like, it's my little hobby, and I have some friends that like it, but that's like what we share. I don't know, I've thought about that too. It's interesting.
Well, if Melee didn't get bigger, you might not have known about it, right?
You're right. That's true.
But yeah, I think we could go around and around about it all day. Zain, I just want to check in really quickly. Any other thoughts you have about this before we let it go?
I do think Toph said. I do think overall it is a good problem to have, especially like I'm not too worried about us losing our grassroots identity just from the way that I got into the game, unless we blow up to proportions that I've never even fathomed.
That'd
But
be cool.
I guess we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out then.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, hey, good discussion, good question, and thank you so much for calling in today, Yeto. Any shout outs for us on your way out?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time to answer that. Yeah, PP, I wanted to shout out just thanks for, it was years ago I reached out to you actually on Smashboards. And it was about like it was about kind of like mental health and also just like mindset for getting better and everything. and you recommended the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and since then I've read that book, and yeah, it's really helped me out a lot. And so yeah, I appreciate the help you gave me and everyone else on Smashboards.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Glad I could help.
Yeah, it was super helpful. And then yeah, shout outs to my wife, who's been putting up with me playing Melee for 5 years. She let me play, so I appreciate it.
Beautiful.
And then yeah, shout outs to all my homies here in NorCal, and also all over the country. I got a lot of friends in different states across the country that I enjoy playing Melee with on our little private server. So shout outs to them.
Awesome. All right. Have a good
All right,
rest of
thanks,
your day,
guys.
gamer.
Later.
Have a good day. Thanks.
See ya.
Toph, you got Falcon punched?
I guess I did. I don't remember it. I must have. It must have been so traumatic that I deleted. I mean, there isn't a move as epic as Falcon Punch in the whole game. Everyone knows this.
I've gotten God a couple times for sure.
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah, by Salt.
Oh no. That'll do it though.
it
If
was
someone's gonna
nasty
hit you with
too.
that, yeah.
It really depends. Not all Falcon Punches are created equal.
That's true.
No,
Like if it's
was
like
a
a
full
Falcon
one.
recovering and it's like an edge guard, then I think it's kind of lame almost.
Yeah, hers was
I
an
don't-
edge guard.
Got
Like,
it.
but it was like in a really
It's like a cool one.
yeah.
Salt does a lot of cool things. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Didn't you Falcon Punch Moki?
Me? Oh, I Falcon punch Moki. Yeah.
It's different when you do it.
Has Moki Falcon punched you?
I'm sure he has. That one I would block out because it's
Makes sense also.
Yeah.
Along with the tweets. Okay. Hello, Minecraft Kid 31. Welcome to the program. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
How are you guys doing? I'm calling in from Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Nice.
sir. Shout out MTVA Zain. And the name is ironic. I promise.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I didn't expect.
That's the name. Like,
I promise.
Yeah, it's fine.
So when Zoo was on the mic, it tipped off. I distinctly remember him saying something like, "Yeah, the average Melee player has probably played like 10 years." And I started playing like Doc Kid as well, but I fell off for like 3-4 years, so I'm still kind of bad. But I want to be good, so I felt like this was pretty demotivating, and I just wanted to see what y'all thought about it.
No, there's no way.
I don't think so.
10
There's no way
years?
the average is 10 years. No. Because we did it, dude. Because remember, we did.
That's what I was thinking about.
You
The
guys
poll.
remember we did that poll on the GG
Yep.
Melee channel.
That's
on
what I was thinking
YouTube,
of too.
And the most common answer for like how long have you been playing Melee is 1 year.
Especially
0 to
when
1.
you look at like,
0 to 1. 0 to 1.
all the new Slippy kids.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way the average is 10.
No.
I've been playing for less than 10.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say because I
yeah.
started thinking about it. Like, no way.
No, it's not. I mean, it depends what you mean by player. Like, there's a lot of people that is a casual or whatever.
I mean, I guess like your average tournament goer, because I'll go to
Right,
like
that's what I was about to say.
like my internet's trash, so I'll go to the local and go like 2-2, 3-2, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, I think there's this perception among new players, and I'll get this in my coaching hour. People will go, "Oh, everyone that at the tournament's been playing for 500 years. How am I supposed to do anything?" And it's, I think that's kind of overblown, and I also think that, a lot of people that play that long, they get to a certain place and they just stay there for several years afterward, right? So I think, being intimidated by how long someone has played, I think it's also going to make less sense. Like if, I have no reason to believe Melee won't be here in 100 years. So, I mean, what are people going to do? Oh, everyone's been playing for 100 years. The whole time Melee's been out. Like, no, at some point it's going to be silly, right? Like when you start playing soccer, you don't go, oh, everyone's been playing for so long. There's no way I can get good. Like at some point you recognize that it's about what you can do and to stop using, these other things to be there. And I guess maybe that's different from like, I guess you could say Street Fighter is different because Street Fighter 6 just came out and it's like, okay, well, everyone will have the same amount of time. But even then, right, people have been playing Street Fighter for a long time. So things are going to transfer. So I think at the end, it's just how much you're really willing to put in and make that the most important thing, because that's what I think matters for your growth as a player. But also, again, I think, there are so many new players and people that consume more casually. I don't think that's the main concern for a lot of people.
Good stuff.
Yeah. You know, the reason I think people okay. My take on this is that like the reason people care about this sort of thing with video games in particular is because like with basketball, no one can play like, you know, or
Right.
whatever physical whatever sport games, chess, right?
Yeah.
You don't care that the game has been around for 100 years and that obviously people are better than you and have been playing for 20 whatever however long. You don't care because you're like, well, duh. Like that they went through the exact same thing. You know, there were people who'd been playing much longer than them when they got into it, et cetera, and so forth and so forth, right? And you don't care because you feel like, well, I mean, the game is that old, but that also means the game's going to be around for a long time. So if I put in a bunch of effort now, even if it takes me a while to get good, it's fine because then I will be eventually I'll be ostensibly, you know, I'll become a good player or whatever. And I'll have gone through what everyone else went through. But you don't want to feel like you're getting in. You don't want to feel like you missed a boat on something.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to feel like you're getting into a video game and you put a bunch of effort in. Like a friend of mine felt like he missed the boat on Marvel 3, and so Marvel vs. Capcom the Infinite came out. You know remember? And he put a bunch of effort into that game, and he got pretty good at it. He beat some top Marvel players, and then the game didn't even get a shot at Evo. Like that game has never even been on the main Evo roster once, and he felt really betrayed. Not by anyone in particular, but he was like, "Oh, that like, I put a bunch of effort in this game, and the game never got its shine, right?" And you don't want that to happen. I think you don't want to feel like, "Oh, I'm like getting into something late, and then I'm not going to have an opportunity to compete at any kind of appreciable level because like the game died before I got good or something," right?
Yeah.
So I think what you have to appreciate with Melee is that, like, hopefully, you know, the community and the game have been around long enough that you kind of know in the back of your mind that, like, yeah, maybe it takes me some time to get good, but probably tournaments are still going to be around, so it's fine, right? Like Melee, I thought it was too late to get into Melee in 2008 or whatever. Like I was worried that there wouldn't be tournaments anymore because Brawl was coming out, you know, but that was 15 years ago. So, you know, you kind of have to like with Melee, you kind of have to just like to some degree, you kind of just have to trust that the game's still going to be around, and you'd probably be right.
Yeah. If you like it and you have a passion for it, I think it's always worth it.
It's not even wasted time. Like even if something does happen, right?
Yeah. When I got into Melee, like I've never used how long I've been playing as like an excuse or whatever, except when I play manga because I think it's really funny.
Yeah, but you're doing it on purpose.
You've played for 30 years. Of course, I'm losing the secondary matchup. Then I'll throw it out because I think that's just funny. But no, realistically, it doesn't. Then it doesn't matter. If you're passionate about Melee and you have the drive to improve to wherever you want to get, I think it's super doable.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Definitely.
Well said.
Good looks.
Well, hey, thank you
Well,
so
thank
much
you,
for
Minecraft
calling in.
Kid.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
shout outs for us?
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to my lovely girlfriend, and then second,
Nice.
PPMD. Shout out to Jeet Kune Do and
Hey,
how you spoke
Yeah,
on it.
buddy.
Yeah, well, that was great. Gave me goosebumps, I must say.
that's powerful stuff.
It is. Shout out to Zane's spacing, very very clean, and Virginia Tech as well. But that is all.
sick.
Yeah, yes sir. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
You
See
too.
ya.
Yes sir. Thank you.
Like that accent.
Yeah.
All right, we got time for I guess one more. Hello, Tubik. Welcome to the program. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Hey, what's up?
Yo,
So
yo.
I'm calling in from Austin, Texas, and first of all, I just wanted to say that like I'm a big fan of everything going on here in general, and Radio Melee as well. But
Thank you.
anyway,
Thank you.
yeah, my question is, and this is a little bit more like philosophical, I guess, and out of left field, but I'm curious what role you guys think that ego has in a competitive match. Like, is it healthy to have a good amount of ego, or should I go in with nothing at all? Sort of like ego is the enemy kind of approach.
What do you think, Zain? You're a
Ego.
big competition man right now. You're thinking about
Zain,
ranking stuff right now. What do you think?
we've talked about this, haven't we?
I think we must, yeah. Uh, for me, I think if it's getting in the way of improvement, um, then it becomes a problem, right? Like if I'm making excuses for myself, like I think I'm better than I am, or that I lost for any other reason, then I'd have to like take a step back and reevaluate how much ego I'm letting slip into my performance. But I do feel like it is, for me personally, necessary to have ego. Maybe I'm like getting the terminology wrong between ego and confidence in myself.
Right, that's what I was going to talk about too.
But I want to be very confident of myself and my ability when I play and and I need that to play the melee that I want to play very freely. So that's my stance on it. I do think that ego gets a lot, especially when people are like trying to get to the next level in melee. It's always a thing that's stopping them from when they lose to like let's say like a camping puff or whatever, or like wobbling icy. It's just like, ugh, like why am I even wasting my time on this? Like I'm better than this. Or the second you start thinking that, it's over in terms of improvement. You can always get past it, but like you can't be thinking like that. So I think there is a big difference between ego and confidence, and finding your confidence is definitely more important.
What about hubris?
Hubris, sometimes hubris feeds into the confidence, where it's like you gotta control it, can contain it in a nice little jar, because you gotta flex on them sometimes to over, like when I play confidently and I'm doing things that I think are more like swaggy, I think it boosts every part of my game. So if I go
I
for
think it does. I've seen you.
if I go for a unique punish that's maybe might be a little unnecessary, what happens
A
after
little spicy. A little
a
spicy.
little spicy. What happens after is every part of my game gets a little enhancement, and that's what I've noticed. It's like I've gone into like some kind of, it's like entering some kind of weird zone where it's like, oh, I'm spacing way better. I can't get touched after I went for this. My punishes are just like everything's flowing.
You're a lot scarier.
Yeah, and for me, that's
think
that's the way to kind of like enter the best play for me.
Right, you have fun.
Have you
the moral boundary.
seen? Have you heard played Dewan talks about your punish game? Have you heard Dewan's? We talked about this, right?
I heard him talk about like pivot tipper.
He said you stopped doing those pivot tippers.
Yeah,
I think he thinks I actually was thinking about this. I could actually translate this. I think he thinks you don't play with enough hubris anymore.
with enough.
Enough.
I think
You don't do this as much anymore. Or at least there was a period where you kind of dialed it back. You kind of dialed it back a little bit.
So for me, 2022 was a year where I think I was very desperate to get the ranking that I wanted, and it made me play more confined. And I can win like that, I think.
You can win like that. I've seen you win like that.
But it's not very much. It's not the melee that I want to play at the end of the day. And I've thought a lot about this. Like,
we want you to play like the way you played against Aura.
That is the perfect set to bring up, I think, because what's funny about that is I was playing Salt before I played Aura. I don't think a lot of people know that. And for me, when I play players like Salt, I kind of match their tempo and the way that they're also they're like swag, right? So like,
yeah,
I just played Salt for like 2 hours, and I'm just like, I'm ready to play some melee. And I played Aura into Ginger into Leffen, and I just played fantastic all day. And I think there's something to that for sure. And I know we've kind of deviated from the question, but that still goes into the whole like ego versus confidence kind of standpoint.
Okay,
it's very
cool. So
personal.
sort of
It's
like
very personal.
So like not letting like confidence like bleed over into hubris, I guess, is like the main thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that ego can be positive and negative. I think that ego can be. I think ego. We talked a little bit about ego just now. We talked about ego kind of in the context of like while you're playing, where it kind of can manifest as like hubris or whatever you want to call it. But I also think that frequently ego comes up not even mid game or between games, but between tournaments.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, like I'll go I've said this before, but when I analyze my sets after tournaments, I watch it first, just like no analysis whatsoever. Usually the night of, when I get back to my hotel room or something, just so I can separate how I feel about it and like the ego involved. Because I just watch it, I'm like, okay, that sucks. This part hurt. This is where I like kind of drop the ball, and then I just like take it all in, and it's like, ow, and I sit with it, and then once the pain and ego has kind of like removed itself from that set, then I can watch it with more of an objective, not fully objective ever, I think, but like with more of an objective standpoint. And I think that's a really good tool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Because it's like, yeah, it's painful. You kind of have to like come to grips with your emotions and stuff. I think that people, I think that egos kind of sometimes I feel like it can hold people in place. And I guess what I mean by that is, like I see people who are getting really good really fast. I've seen this a couple times, and then I feel like they're like improving really fast. They like get into melee and they're making really good progress. They start beating some players, and then I feel like they kind of develop an ego about where they think they should be performing. Like I shouldn't be losing to people like this, but I should be beating these people. Like I can't be losing to these people. And I feel like what I sometimes observe is that people like when that happens, like I feel like I see people start improving a lot slower or not improving, like they start plateauing.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a side of it where I've definitely gone through this a lot. I've played Melee for a really long time. And I feel like on one hand, ego is pretty good at like something positive about it is I feel like it's pretty good at like keeping a floor for your performance. Like I've definitely been in sets where like I feel like I really don't want to lose this guy. And like because I feel that way, I like find the extra energy somehow to like kind of pull through and clutch it. And I feel like this happens a lot with even like top players fighting like borderline top players, like top 100 players, where sometimes I feel like that last bit of like clutch factor, like the top player factor is like, I feel like there's an ego component that goes into some of those sets.
Yeah.
We're on both sides, where the guy that chokes it, and it's always like, yeah, some like borderline top 100 or top 100 player versus like some top 20 player. And like, I feel like it's that last step of like claiming the victory where like the top player's like, no, I can't lose this guy. Like I cannot. Whereas like the guy that's like has to make the upset, like they need to like
do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where ego can be beneficial, where sometimes telling yourself like, no, I can't lose, like it gives you like a floor almost like and I've definitely felt this, like where I'm like, I don't know if I'm like PR'd or something and I'm like about to lose like a non-PR player and I'm just like, no, like can't lose this. But then on the flip side, I think when your brain starts building rules about how good you should be, quote unquote, it's also really easy to hit ceilings for the same reason where, yeah, you're about to beat some really good player or something. And you don't, or like people who neglect practice because they think they've got it all figured out, or they don't practice the things that they should be practicing, or they don't review their VODs like because they're like, oh, I trust myself in the moment to like, I'll figure it out.
I just played so bad.
It's the classic. Yeah. It's the classic. So I kind of think of it like the way I kind of always think about it is I feel like it's something that it's kind of a equilibrium factor to me. That's kind of the way I've thought about it. The way I've kind of conceptualized is like sometimes it's like it like kind of holds you in place in both a good way and a bad way. And so I think you need to be able to identify that with yourself and like kind of overcome. You really need to keep yourself. That's why people say like talk about like keeping yourself humble. Like you need to keep yourself humble when it comes to improvement, because like you'll get too ingrained, I think, in your ways if you convince yourself that you've got it all figured out.
Okay, cool. So like in moderation, I guess.
Yeah, in moderation, and also just like specific. You should know like specific things about it. You need to ignore, I guess, like that voice that says that like, oh, I'm good, like I don't need to. What I like you gotta have that beginners. They say beginner's mind, right? Like there's a reason we talk about the beginner's mind as like a positive thing. It's because like the beginner's only thinking about improvement. They're not thinking about what they should do or what they should be able to do. They're not thinking about like, oh, I should be beating this guy.
How am I gonna act when I lose? I've had that.
Yeah, can't be thinking about that. Can't be. That's not beginner's mind. That's ego, right?
Cool.
That's
Yeah,
that's what I think.
guys,
I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight and everything. Like Zain and all you guys like competitors who've been in the scene for a while. So cool to hear.
Yeah, I hope that helped. I don't know. I feel like I
Yeah.
talked a lot, even though obviously Zain and PP have performed a lot better than me in tournaments. But
I said what I needed to say. I think it's funny because it's something that I've been thinking about recently. Maybe not particularly like the term ego, but just what I touched on.
yeah,
Playing with confidence.
there's ego. In some ways, I do think ego is kind of this all-encompassing term that I feel like it's actually kind of helpful to break it down because it's a couple different things are going on. There's a couple little components. And I think it's good to like, maybe we don't even have words for all of those little components, but I think there's a couple things, and I think it's good to like isolate them and identify them one by one. We talked about confidence, we talked about hubris, expectations. These are all different phenomena. So, but it's very personal.
Some of these things might even work differently for different people, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
for some
probably all of them.
for some people, they might find that they want to tell themselves, "Oh, I can do this. This is really important. This is what I've worked for," and like that. Those sorts of thoughts are really empowering. But for other people, they may want to like wipe everything from their mind and think about some of these things like beforehand, but not really have any of that be involved. And both of these approaches can be valuable. Like, so one approach you might say is like reinforcing what you might call a healthy ego, and one is just saying I want to be egoless, if you want to use that word. So I think it's going to be different for different people too. So which can make navigating this a little tricky, but it's also, I think, part of the fun of playing Melee.
Someone who comes to mind when you say that, PP, is Eddie Mexico, because I'll watch him walk off a stage after losing with a big smile, and he's just like he's talking about like, I just need to play better. Like that, he lost a Magi. He's like, she's so good, but I do see him improving like every tournament he goes to. And
so it's not that he doesn't care.
No, he cares. He's got some new stuff every time. I think he played. I really like his Luigi. So that's just who I thought of. I think that can work too, depending on the kind of person you are.
Yeah.
Luigi. Yeah, some people. Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff is different from person to person. I think a lot of like what mindset you need. Like, I always think of Leffen's tweet when he won that ultimate tournament. And he was like, I remember, God, this was like 20. I mean, this is when he was still playing Ultimate, right? I mean, Leffen's a great example of this. I think Leffen does a lot of things, and like he has a lot of Leffenisms, bless his heart, that I don't think work for a lot of people. I think most people, Leffen can rage and win a tournament, right? Like Leffen can literally be tweeting. I was on Twitter that whole weekend. I wasn't watching whatever that ultimate was, a DreamHack, and he was literally complaining about like Young Link, complaining about, I don't know, Snake, how bad Pokemon Trainer is, and I was like, oh, Leffen must be getting cooked. Like, he must be getting bodied at this tournament. And then he won. I was like, what? And he beat like Mr. R, right?
Yeah, that was when like, someone tweeted like, man, too angry to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, literally too angry to lose, and it's like the Bakugo with like chains on him. He's like, but he's on the first place of the podium. That's very personal. I think most people cannot rage and win a tournament. I think if most people try to do that, they will play really badly. But like that is a great example of mentality being a very personal thing. I think I would not recommend that for most people, but I think for Leffen it works.
Even if you are an angry Melee player and have benefited from it, I would like to also tell you that there might be other healthier ways that Leffen could channel his feelings and still be successful without maybe it hurting so much. So I want people to walk away from this not being encouraged to be super angry, but to each their own. Well, we're all walking our own path here in Melee. But yeah, I feel like we've covered a lot of things really well, and I think really how we define this term ego is a big part of it, and learning all those components, like Toph said, a big part of it. Any other thoughts before we let Tubik go?
I think I said everything I want to say.
Same here.
All right. Well, Tubik, thank you so much for calling in. Great question. Any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Shout out to UT Smash Club. I mean, I only play Ultimate, but I love watching Melee. So yeah, a lot of goated gamers in there. So
Sick.
thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
on. Yeah.
Which UT is this? University of
UT Austin.
UT Austin.
Yeah.
Very nice.
University of Pride, Texas.
It is.
I don't know. It could have been like Tennessee or something.
Well, they said they were calling in from Texas in the beginning.
Oh, you're right. They did. Oh my god. I don't know. UT can also just be Utah, right?
Oh, I
UT
guess I didn't think
UT
about
scene,
that.
that could just be Utah, and you know,
I didn't think about
Salt Lake
that
City.
either.
They got a lot of Melee play. They got a Smash
That's
team
true.
for sure. And so I've played Melee there. I entered it. I actually won a tournament in Salt Lake City.
Oh, very
So,
nice.
There you go. Yeah,
Love that.
got a trophy and everything.
Oh, wow. That is nice.
I don't win that many tournaments, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's cool.
I gotta take the ones I get. You know. Yeah.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, congrats to you, Toph, and also thank you, Tubik, for calling in. Have a good rest of your day, gamer.
Yeah, y'all too. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
All right.
unless there are any other burning questions.
Well, I think we might have one more. It looks like we might have time for one more, but because I see that the guy that asked it is still in the call. No, he's still in the call, actually. If he wants to ask his question, but I see that he's muted right now.
Oh.
If
Oh dear.
if he wants to come on and just ask the question, but I don't know. I don't know if he actually wants to do it. You know, I don't know if he's AFK right now. He is muted. But he did have a question. He did type a question for us in the Submit Topics here channel. So I'm just kind of
maybe someone could ask it on their behalf. I'm not
Zeke,
sure.
are you there?
Zeke?
I'm getting word that Zeke's mic is very bad, but he wants Zain to answer it. I don't know what this question is.
Zeke,
Well,
no, Zeke, you have to ask it. You have to ask it.
Before you even ask anything, I got ghosted by Big Z when I went to Cali.
Oh,
Really?
Zeke, you got to unmute with your bad mic. Don't let him
Yeah,
unmute
he's
you.
got on mute.
He just
Here we go.
left. Now I'm getting ghosted 2 times.
Oh my god, he left the call.
Oh my god.
I don't believe it.
Uh,
What?
Unbelievable.
That's Big Z for you, man.
I just
He's
I
the
just got
Z.
Big Z on. He's the bigger Z.
Oh, you're the biggest Z.
I don't know
Oh
anymore,
no!
man.
Oh no!
Damn. Maybe Zane's gonna be asking the final question today.
Yeah, maybe
the question
Zeke
is
can learn
it too
something
late
about
to
ego.
apologize? Yeah.
Oh
Wait,
no!
what was the question?
Let me
Looks like he said
investigate.
yeah. At Zain SSBM, why did you leave me and what can I do to get you back? I just want to be the man you need so that we can be the friends we need to be.
How did he expect me to answer this question?
Bars.
I don't know.
Well, first things first, you know, when I come to Cali and want to hang out, maybe we can grab a bite to eat. I don't know. I thought it would have been. I thought it would have been a lovely time.
You won a dinner with Zeke. He actually owes you a prize.
Oh yeah, he does.
That your Zeke impression.
You
That was
won
a good
it.
one, right?
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Zeke. I'm Big Z. I need to go to the gym.
Yeah, that was his Zeke impression. That's exactly how he sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how he sounds. Ever since he got big,
Yeah. Yeah. Too big for us.
bigger Z.
Oh, he's Hollywood.
He's bigger Z now.
Insane. Insane. You hate to see it.
You
You
really,
really do hate to see
Oh,
it.
next time you two talk, you're gonna have some words for each other. Sounds like after this.
I'll be back in Cali for Ludwig's tournament, and who knows? Maybe I'll be so fortunate to get just a small bite to eat with my good pal Zeke. maybe just a morsel of something.
Maybe a salad, right?
Maybe oh yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. We go to a pizza joint. He orders a salad.
Oh,
He thinks he's better than me?
I heard he loves salads. I heard Zeke loves.
He only does that to
salads.
flex on you when you're not around. He gets pizza.
He's the bigger Z.
The bigger Z's always eating his salads.
He's always just eating his salad.
Gosh.
Wow.
Oh
Well-
man. The Z to Z connection. Well, good luck to the both of you. I really hope that relationship works out.
Yeah.
maybe we can have him on next time for some counseling.
Yeah.
But Zain, I just gotta know. There's really one thing that I think the people have been curious about really the whole time the show's been going on, and that's What question would you want to ask, Zain?
Oh.
The community voice. Look at me going to segue.
Mhm.
The question only you can ask to the YouTube comments for them to answer. And surely you've been thinking about it the whole time, and this isn't catching you
Surely.
off guard.
Yeah, no.
And I'm not stalling right now to give you time to think about it.
All right, I got something. That
okay.
was actually clutch. Okay.
Like,
We talked about kind of the grassroots component of Melee.
Mm.
We talked a little about Smash Fests. And I guess my question is to the community, when was the last time I guess since online Slippy has come out, has everyone gone to a Smash Fest? When was the last Smash Fest you went? And if you haven't been to a Smash Fest, what would convince you to go?
That's a great question.
So, what was the last Smash Fest you went to? And if you haven't been, what would make you go?
Yeah.
I like that. And if you've been to one recently, maybe tell us a little bit about it.
Maybe tell us about why it was
sentence or two.
great. Yeah.
That's right.
Or bad. Maybe it went
bad.
terribly. Yeah, maybe.
It was horrible.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Also, do people even say Smash Fest anymore? Am I going to sound like a crazy person? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we call them now?
I don't know.
For those who don't know, somehow a Smash Fest is the gathering of people to play Melee that is not a tournament.
What do they
So
say? You guys trying to play Slippy in person?
Oh,
Offline Slippy?
Offline Slippy?
oh my god.
Yeah.
What are you
Just
doing?
doesn't roll off the tongue the same way.
We play on LAN? Ooh.
See me on
Yeah.
land.
I guess so.
Yeah, well, that's my
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question, Zain. And thank you for coming on.
It was great to have you,
Had
man.
a lot of awesome callers.
Yeah, I missed talking to you guys and filming stuff. So
Oh.
this was fun. And
Yeah.
good questions all around.
Definitely.
Good to hear from you too, and good to hear about your direction with Moist Mobiles. I really hope everything goes great with that, and
Thank you.
everything can turn around well with the YouTube channel, or you can find some other avenue that works well for you.
Yeah.
But hey, thank you again. Thank you, Toph. Thank you, all the callers. Thank you to the viewers and listeners. We are out of here for now, but we'll be back on Tuesday next week. But for now, this is Radio Melee signing out.